Welcome back, everyone, to Wellness Unpacked. We are diving deep today
Mm.
into mindfulness. We've got some interesting stuff to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Excerpts from a blog post
Okay.
called Mindfulness Amidst Mayhem. Sounds
Catchy.
very relatable. And then we've got transcripts
Yeah.
from 3 YouTube videos all about mindfulness and meditation.
That's a good combo. A lot of people are talking about mindfulness these days.
It's everywhere, I
Ah,
think. It's easy to get a little confused.
definitely. There are a lot of misconceptions floating around, like that whole thing about emptying your mind completely.
Right. Like you just shut off all your thoughts.
Yeah, which isn't really how it works at all.
Yeah, and Emily Lawson, the blogger we mentioned, she actually starts off by saying she thought the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, she was skeptical too at
Wow.
first.
It does sound a little out there when you first hear about it.
Okay, so let's get into it. What is mindfulness really about then?
It's about focusing on the present moment, really paying attention to your thoughts and feelings.
And like the sensations in your body.
Exactly, and not judging them, just observing.
Okay, so you're not trying to like push those thoughts and feelings away.
Nope. It's more about being aware of them without letting them control you.
And being aware of your surroundings too.
Yeah, like you're experiencing them for the first time with a sense of curiosity.
So instead of trying to like force your mind to be blank, it's more about just noticing those thoughts
Yeah,
as they come and go.
that's a great way to put it. It's
Yeah.
like watching clouds drift by, you see them, but you don't get caught up in them.
I like that analogy.
And, this mindful approach can have some pretty amazing benefits.
Oh, yeah. For both your mind and your body, I bet.
You got it.
Okay, well, before we get to those, let me just quickly mention something. For our listeners who are, looking to take their wellness to the next level,
Okay.
we've got Nagano Tonic. It's not just another health drink. It's this delicious, powerful elixir that makes weight loss fun and effortless.
Sounds intriguing.
You can find it at the link in the show notes. All right, now back to those mindfulness benefits. I know one of the big ones is stress reduction, right?
Oh, absolutely. From what I've seen in these sources, mindfulness can actually lower those stress hormones,
It
help
can.
you relax, even manage anxiety.
Yeah, the blogger,
Yeah.
Emily.
Mm-hmm.
She actually mentions that mindfulness helped her, like, befriend her anxiety.
Befriended.
Instead of just feeling bad about feeling anxious, she started asking herself, hey, what's my anxiety trying to tell me here?
Interesting.
So it's not about pretending the anxiety isn't there. It's about understanding it better.
Yeah, that's a great example of how shifting your perspective,
Yeah.
which is a key part of mindfulness, can really change how you experience life.
For the better, hopefully.
Most definitely.
Okay. So we've got the definition down. We've got some of the potential benefits. Now, I'm curious about how this all relates to meditation.
Okay.
Are they the same thing or are they different?
That is a great question. And honestly, a lot of people get them confused.
Yeah.
The Well Mind and Body Psychology video, one of the
Yeah.
ones we have, they do a good job of explaining the difference.
Okay, so what do they say?
They say mindfulness is that general awareness that we were talking about earlier, paying attention to the present moment.
Got it.
And meditation, they describe it as a more formal practice for training your mind.
So you could say mindfulness is something you can practice all the time in everyday life.
Exactly. And meditation is something you set aside specific time for, like a workout for your mind.
Okay. So does that mean there are different types of meditation too? Like different workouts you could do?
You got it. The video even gives a few examples, like focusing on your breath or using visualizations.
Interesting. Have you ever tried meditation?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like for you?
It's been really good for me. But it can take some time finding what works for you.
Oh, yeah.
What about you? Have you?
I've tried it a little bit, mostly with those guided meditation apps.
Yeah, those can be good.
Sometimes I feel like it helps, but other times I'm just like thinking about my to-do list.
I get that.
What I'm really curious about, though,
Yeah.
is like the practical stuff. What are some mindfulness activities that beginners can actually do?
Let's see. Emily's blog has a couple interesting ones. She talks about mindful walking,
Mindful walking.
where you basically leave your phone behind
Wait.
and you just focus on each step, feeling your feet on the ground, all of that.
Yeah, I like that. That she emphasizes leaving the phone behind. It's so easy to get distracted by all the notifications and messages and everything.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It totally defeats the purpose if you're checking your phone every 2 seconds.
Right. The whole point is to be present, not in the digital world.
Exactly.
Yes.
She also mentions the 5 senses check-in.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's a classic grounding technique. Therapists use it to help people manage stress and anxiety. You just take a few minutes to focus on what you can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste.
It's like a little mini vacation for your senses. Ugh.
Yeah.
Speaking of mini vacations, let's not forget about taking care of ourselves in other ways. Nagano tonic. Remember we talked about it earlier?
Yeah.
It isn't just another health drink. It's a delicious, powerful elixir designed to make weight loss fun and effortless.
And you can buy it
By visiting https://rebrand.lia-lia body tonic or clicking the link in the description of this podcast.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got mindful walking, 5 senses check-in. What about, like, actual meditation?
Yeah, so the YouTube videos have some good guidance on that. They talk about the body scan meditation, where you focus on different parts of your body.
From head to toe.
Yep. You start with your toes and slowly move up, noticing any sensations or tension.
There's a video that walks you through it, right?
Yeah. The Beginner's Guide to Meditation 1, they have you lie down or sit comfortably and then guide you through the whole process.
Sounds relaxing.
It's a really good way to connect with your body.
And then there's also the breath-focused meditation, where you
Yeah.
concentrate on
Yeah.
your breath as you inhale and exhale.
Yeah, that one's a classic.
It seems so simple,
Yeah.
but I bet it's hard to keep your mind from wandering.
It definitely takes practice, but that's kind of the point. When your mind wanders, you gently bring it back to your breath.
So it's not about,
Yeah.
like, forcing your mind to be completely blank, but rather just gently guiding it back when it inevitably wanders off.
You got it.
That makes me feel better, because my mind wanders a lot.
Don't worry, everyone's does.
And the Mindfulness for Beginners video, they actually say that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you only manage to bring your attention back
Right.
once
Yeah.
during a meditation session, that's still progress.
That's a good point. It's not about being perfect.
It's about the effort.
Exactly. And the Well Mind and Body Psychology video, they use this great analogy about training your mind like a muscle.
Oh, I like that.
You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training your body first.
Right.
So you can't expect to meditate for long periods without training your mind either.
Makes sense. So even if you only meditate for a few minutes each day, that regular practice will strengthen your focus
Yeah.
and your ability to be present.
And consistency is key. But I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Starting any new practice can be challenging.
What are some of the things that trip people up when they're trying to be more mindful or meditate?
Well, for me, it's definitely the racing thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my mind is just constantly going, to-do lists,
Yeah.
worries, random thoughts. I feel that.
Sometimes it feels impossible to quiet it down.
That's really common. Actually, a lot of the YouTube videos mention that as a challenge. Busy minds, lack of time, not being able to find a quiet space, all of that.
It's so true, though. Sometimes it feels like my thoughts are having a party in there, and I wasn't invited.
I love that.
Ah,
But remember, it's not about not having thoughts. It's about how we relate to them.
right. Mindfulness helps us observe those thoughts without getting swept away.
Exactly. And the Start Your Mindfulness Journey Today video, they recommend doing a thought audit,
A thought audit.
where
Yeah.
you just regularly check in with yourself
Yeah.
and see what kind of thoughts are running through your mind. So becoming more aware of our internal dialogue
Yep. Even if it's not always positive.
and approaching it with, like, kindness,
Yeah.
not judgment.
Absolutely. Because criticizing yourself for having negative thoughts, it doesn't help. It just creates more stress.
It makes it harder to change those patterns.
The video actually suggests replacing judgment with curiosity.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, ugh, I'm so anxious about this presentation,
Right.
you might ask yourself, why am I feeling anxious about this presentation?
Like, what's going on here? What's triggering this?
Exactly. And by exploring those feelings with curiosity, we can often figure out what's really going on and find better ways to manage them.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like being a detective for your own emotions.
I like that.
But what about the whole lack of time thing? I feel like everyone's so busy these days.
That's true.
How can people realistically fit mindfulness into their lives?
Well, one of the most common pieces of advice I see is to start small. So instead of like trying to meditate for an hour, maybe just start with 5 or 10 minutes
Okay.
and gradually increase it as you get more comfortable.
So it's more about consistency than duration.
Exactly. It's much better to meditate for 5 minutes every day than for 30 minutes once a week.
That feels doable. What about finding a quiet space? That can be tough, especially if you live with other people.
Yeah. The videos have some ideas for that, like meditating in your car, during your lunch break,
Okay.
or finding a quiet spot in nature.
I like that.
And you don't have to sit in a traditional meditation pose either.
Oh, really?
You can meditate while walking, doing yoga, even washing dishes.
So it's all about bringing mindfulness
Hmm.
to whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
But let's be real. Sometimes we need a little extra help.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any, like,
Oh.
guided meditations or apps
Mm.
that can help people get started?
For sure. A lot of the videos mention Headspace and Smiling Mind.
I've heard of those.
They have guided meditations for all levels,
Okay.
including beginners.
And there's YouTube too, right?
Tons of free guided meditations on YouTube.
So there's really no excuse.
Not really.
And Emily's blog also mentioned some other things, like those breathwork stickers that she uses to remind herself to breathe throughout the day,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
and mindful journaling prompts to explore her thoughts and emotions.
That's a good one.
Okay, so there are a lot of resources out there.
Yeah, and the key is to find what works for you. Experiment, explore, see what resonates.
I like that. Speaking of finding what works for you, let's quickly mention Nagano Tonic again.
Sure.
It's delicious, it's effortless, and it can help you on your weight loss journey. Check out the link in the description.
Okay, so now let's talk about the science behind all of this.
Yes. It's amazing to me that these ancient practices are now being studied by science.
I know, it's so fascinating.
So, what have researchers discovered about the effects of mindfulness and meditation on our brains and bodies?
Well, there's been so much research in the past few decades, and the findings are pretty incredible. Studies have shown that mindfulness and meditation can reduce stress,
Yeah.
improve focus, boost emotional regulation, and even strengthen our immune system.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, right? It's not a magic bullet or anything,
Mhm.
but it's a powerful tool for overall well-being.
It's pretty amazing. Let's break it down a bit. One of the most well-documented benefits is stress reduction. Right.
Yeah. It makes sense given how stressed out everyone is these days.
It really does. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information and demands.
It's no wonder everyone's so stressed, but mindfulness and meditation, they help us train our minds to respond to stress in a better way.
Yeah.
So instead of just reacting impulsively or getting caught up in negative thoughts, you learn to pause, observe, and choose a more helpful response.
I like that. So it gives us more control over how we react to things.
Exactly. And that ability to regulate our emotions is key to managing stress and preventing burnout.
It sounds like mindfulness is all about giving us more control over our minds. But you mentioned that mindfulness can actually change our brains, like physically.
That's right. Research has shown that regular mindfulness practice can actually increase gray matter in the brain
Wow.
in areas that are associated with attention, emotional regulation, self-awareness.
So by practicing mindfulness, we're actually changing the structure of our brains.
In a way, yes. We're strengthening the neural pathways associated with calmness, focus, and compassion.
And weakening the pathways associated with stress and negativity.
Exactly. And these changes can have a ripple effect on our overall health and well-being.
So it's not just mental and emotional, it's physical too.
Right. Studies have linked mindfulness and meditation to improved sleep, reduced anxiety, and even lower blood pressure.
That's pretty remarkable, but how do we know if it's actually working? The effects seem pretty subtle.
That's true. They are often subtle and gradual, so it's important to pay attention to the shifts you're experiencing in your daily life.
So it's not about having some huge life-changing experience.
Not necessarily. It's more about noticing those small but significant changes in how you think, feel, and behave.
So what are some signs that mindfulness and meditation are having a positive impact?
Well, one common sign is that you're less reactive to stress. So instead of freaking out when something goes wrong, you're able to take a breath and respond more calmly.
Okay.
And you might find that you're better able to manage difficult emotions, like anxiety, anger, or sadness. Instead of getting completely overwhelmed by them, you're able to observe them without judgment and choose a more skillful response.
So it's about having more space between you and those emotions.
Exactly. And you might also feel more present and engaged in your daily life, appreciating the simple things that you might have overlooked before.
Instead of just going through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're actually savoring those everyday moments.
Yeah.
And experiencing them with more richness and depth.
I like that.
And you might find that you're able to focus better, get more done, because you're less distracted by worries and negative thoughts.
That makes sense. If you're not so caught up in your head, you can actually focus on what you're doing.
Right. And I think mindfulness can also help us be more compassionate towards ourselves and others.
Oh, definitely.
As you become more aware of your own imperfections and struggles, you can start to extend that same understanding and kindness to those around you.
And be more grateful for all the good things in our lives, even the little things.
Exactly. So as you can see, there are many ways that mindfulness and meditation can improve our lives.
And the best way to experience those benefits is to give them a try.
For sure. Even a few minutes each day can make a difference.
But we have to be mindful of those misconceptions
Yeah.
that often prevent people from even exploring these practices.
Right.
Like, I think some people have these ideas about what mindfulness and meditation are, and that can be a real obstacle.
Totally. It can keep people from even trying it.
So let's bust some myths. What are some of the most common misconceptions you've come across?
Well, one of the biggest is that it's about emptying your mind completely.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
Like, you have to achieve this state of total blankness, no thoughts at all.
Which is basically impossible.
Yeah. Our minds are always thinking. That's just what they do.
Exactly. So it's not about shutting off your thoughts completely. It's more about changing how you relate to them.
Okay.
It's about creating some space between you and your thoughts so you can choose how to respond to them rather than just reacting automatically.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to eliminate thoughts altogether, it's more about creating a healthy distance.
Right. Learning to observe them without judgment.
What about the idea that mindfulness and meditation are like religious practices?
Another common one. And it's understandable why people might think that.
Yeah.
Mindfulness and meditation do have roots in Eastern spiritual traditions, but they're not inherently religious.
So you don't have to be Buddhist or anything like that.
Not at all. They're essentially techniques for training the mind, cultivating inner peace and well-being. Anyone can practice them.
Okay, good to clarify that.
Yeah.
Because I think some people might worry about it conflicting with their own beliefs.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But you don't have to adopt any specific beliefs or rituals. You can just focus on the techniques themselves.
I like that. It makes it very accessible. Okay, what about the idea that mindfulness is all about, like, escaping from reality?
That's another myth. Mindfulness and meditation aren't about checking out of reality. They're about becoming more present with it,
Okay.
both the good and the bad. It's about learning to engage with life in a more skillful and compassionate way.
So it's not about pretending everything is perfect.
No,
It's about facing those challenges with more clarity and resilience.
exactly. Being present with your experience, whatever
Yeah.
that experience may be, and finding a sense of peace within yourself.
Even in the midst of chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the misconception that mindfulness is about emptying your mind, the concern about religious affiliations,
Mhm.
and the idea that it's an escape from reality. What else?
Some people might think it's only for certain types of people, like, they picture a yogi on a mountaintop or something.
Yeah, like you have to be super zen to benefit from it.
Right, but that's not true at all. Mindfulness and meditation are for everyone, no matter who you are or what you do.
So it doesn't matter your age, personality, background, lifestyle, anyone can do it.
Exactly. There are so many different styles and techniques out there. You can find what works for you.
That's good to know. It makes it seem much less intimidating.
Yeah.
What about the time commitment, though? A lot of people are probably thinking, I just don't have time for this.
I get that. But you don't need to spend hours meditating every day. Even a few minutes can make a difference.
Okay.
You can integrate mindfulness into your day in small ways, like paying attention to your breath, noticing sensations in your body, or savoring each bite of food when you eat.
Those are great suggestions. It's about finding those little moments throughout the day to pause and connect with yourself.
Exactly. And remember, consistency is more important than duration. A few minutes every day is better than a long session once a week.
That seems much more manageable.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about some of the misconceptions that might hold people back. What are some practical tips for actually integrating mindfulness and meditation into our lives?
One of the best tips is to start your day with a few moments of mindfulness.
So instead of rushing out the door, take a few minutes to just be still.
Yeah. Just sit and connect with your breath. Even 5 minutes can make a big difference.
That sounds like a nice way to start the day. Calm and centered. What else?
Another tip is to bring mindfulness to your everyday activities.
We've talked about mindful walking and mindful eating, but what are some other ways to do that?
It could be as simple as paying attention to the sensations of water on your skin when you're washing dishes, or noticing the feel of the sun on your face when you're walking outside. It's about bringing that quality of awareness to whatever you're doing.
So it's not about adding more things to our to-do lists. It's about shifting our attention.
Exactly. Another helpful tip is to create reminders for yourself to be mindful throughout the day.
Like setting alarms or putting sticky notes up.
Yep. Or wear a bracelet or necklace that serves as a visual cue.
I love that. It's like a little reminder to check in with yourself.
And the more you practice mindfulness, the more it will become a natural part of your life.
Like a habit.
Exactly. Another tip is to find a community of like-minded people.
Oh, that's a good one.
Having that support and encouragement can be really helpful.
Where can people find those communities?
You can find mindfulness groups online or in person, or even just connect with friends or family who are also interested in mindfulness.
Okay, so finding your people, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Before we wrap up, is there any final guidance you'd like to offer our listeners? For those just starting out, or maybe those who are feeling a bit discouraged?
Be patient. Mindfulness and meditation are skills that take time and practice. It's a journey.
So it's okay if it feels hard at first.
Of course. It's totally normal for your mind to wander, and you're not going to experience instant enlightenment or anything like that.
Right.
It's a process. Just keep practicing, and you'll start to notice the benefits.
And it's okay to ask for help too. Right.
Absolutely. There are lots of resources available. Teachers, therapists, online communities. Don't be afraid to reach out.
And most importantly, try to enjoy the journey.
Yes. It's not about striving for some future state of perfection. It's about cultivating a sense of peace and presence right now.
The present moment is a gift.
It is.
Well, this has been a really great deep dive. I feel inspired to keep exploring mindfulness and meditation.
Me too. And I hope our listeners feel the same way. Remember, the present moment is all we ever have. Let's make the most of it.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for an extra boost on your wellness journey, don't forget about Nagano Tonic. It's delicious, it's effortless, and it can help you with your weight loss goals. Check out the link in the show notes.
Until next time, be well and be mindful.